Hello everybody. In this video, I am going to discuss about e-invoicing under GST. We will see the provisions of e-invoicing under GST in detail. We will understand about e-invoicing. E-invoicing does not mean generation of invoice by government portal. The taxpayers will continue to create their GST invoices on their own accounting, billing or ERP systems. These invoices will be reported to the Invoice Registration Portal known as IRP. On reporting, IRP returns a signed e-invoice with unique invoice reference number known as IRN and a QR code. The invoice, which is generated on accounting, billing or ERP systems, it will be issued to the receiver with QR code. The QR code will be printed on the invoice. A GST invoice will be valid only with valid invoice reference number. Where e-invoicing is applicable, carrying e-invoice printout during transportation of goods is not mandatory. The QR code having embedded invoice reference number, it will be produced to verification by proper officer electronically instead of physical copy of tax invoice. As per Rule 48 Sub-Rule 4 of the CGST Rules 2017, it requires notified classes of registered persons to prepare e-invoice by including such particulars contained in Form GST INV01, upload in Invoice Registration Portal known as IRP and obtain Invoice Registration Number known as IRN. We will see the definition of aggregate turnover. Section 2 subsection 6 of CGST Act 2017 defines aggregate turnover as value of all taxable supplies excluding the value of inward supplies on which tax is payable by a person on reverse charge basis. Then exempt supplies, it includes non-GST supplies like petroleum products, alcoholic liquor for human consumption, etc. Then third one, export of goods or services or both. Fourth one is interstate supplies. These are included in aggregate turnover of persons having same permanent account number. It is computed on all India basis. It excludes central tax, state tax and union territory tax. Threshold limit for e-invoicing. From 1st October 2020, the threshold limit is Rs 500 crores. From 1st January 2021, it is reduced to Rs 100 crores. From 1st April 2021, it is further reduced to Rs 50 crores. And from 1st April 2022, it is further reduced to Rs 20 crores. It means that from 1st April 2022, the taxpayers having aggregate turnover of more than Rs 20 crores has to mandatorily register under IRP. So these persons are exempted from obtaining e-invoicing. First one, SEZ units. Second one, insurance companies. Third one, banking companies. Fourth one, non-banking financial companies known as NBFC. Fifth one, goods transport agencies. Sixth one, passenger transport services. Seventh one, multiplex cinemas. And eighth one, it is newly inserted Wide Notification Number 13/2020. So the new one is government, department and local authorities. The documents covered by e-invoicing system. The documents are invoices, debit notes and credit notes. The documents which are not covered under e-invoicing system are bill of supply, receipt and payment voucher, refund voucher, self-invoice by recipient. Under reverse charge, the recipient of goods or services need to pay GST, not supplier. So, in that case, recipient need to generate a self-invoice. This self-invoice need not be registered under e-invoice. In this situation, the supplier need to generate e-invoice if it is applicable on him. Then last one is ISD invoice, debit notes and credit notes, which means invoice, debit notes and credit notes issued by input service distributors. The supplies covered under e-invoicing system are B2B supplies, then supply to SEZ with or without payment of GST. Third one is exports with or without payment of GST. Fourth one is deemed exports. B2C supplies are not covered under e-invoicing system as of now. It will be added in a future period of time. Then we will know the advantages of e-invoicing. First one is generation of various documents and reporting in documents. The reduction of reporting requirements in GSTR 1 and e-way bill, etc. When we register the invoice under e-invoicing system, the data will be transferred to GST portal as well as e-way bill portal. So the reporting requirements are considerably reduced. Second advantage, generation of e-way bill using e-invoice data. We can generate e-way bill directly using e-invoice data. Third one, auto population of e-invoice data in form GSTR 1. Fourth one is reduction of clerical mistakes because the same data will be available to GST department as well as the buyer to prepare his purchase register. The buyer can prepare purchase register and the data can be checked by GST department by using the data which is available to the GST department. Then information from GST portal can be used by buyer to prepare reconciliation statement with his purchase order. Then the next advantage, complete trial of B2B invoice. It will help in reduction of tax evasion because every B2B supplies are being reported in IRP. So complete trial is available. Then the next one is system level matching of input tax, credit and output tax, which means that matching of input tax and input tax, credit and output tax, the B2B supplies will be registered in IRP. It will be available in form GSTR 1 of the supplier and form GSTR 2A or 2B of the recipient. So, while entering data in form GSTR 3B, the data entered in GSTR 3B will be matched with GSTR 2A as well as GSTR 1 from the data obtained from invoice registration portal. Then another advantage is elimination of fake invoicing. It will help in mitigation of fraud. Elimination of fake invoice happens when all the B2B supplies are being reported in invoice registration portal. So there is no chance for generation of fake invoice. We will know how to check a particular supplier is supposed to issue e-invoice. One can search the status of enablement of GSTN on e-invoice portal. The path is https e-invoice1.gst.gov.in, search e-invoice status of taxpayer, and the listing is based on turnover as reported in GSTR 3B. Even if the status is shown as enabled, the taxpayer need not register under IRP when the taxpayer falls under the exempted categories. Exempted category of persons. These are the accepted category of persons I have already discussed. When the taxpayer falls under this exempted category of persons, even if the status is shown as enabled, the taxpayer need not register the invoice in the e-invoice in the invoice registration portal. In case of any registered person is required to prepare invoice in terms of rule, 48 subrule 4, which means e-invoice. When the person is required to register under e-invoicing portal but not enabled on the portal, he or she may request for enablement on portal. The path is registration, e-invoice enablement. Then we will understand registration on invoice registration portal. The basic condition is that the taxpayer should register himself in GSTN portal. If that taxpayer is not registered on e-waybill portal, he need to register under the IRP using his GSTIN. He should generate user ID and password using his GSTIN. If the person has not registered, if he is registered on e-waybill portal, that taxpayer has registered on GSTN portal as well as he is registered on e-waybill portal, he can use his e-waybill login credentials to log in at e-invoicing system. He can use e-waybill login ID and password to log in at the e-invoicing system. The e-invoice can be registered under the IRP using the possible methods of API integration. First one is through companies having direct access to API. So, using the companies having direct access through APIs, if the taxpayer has tie up with the companies having direct access to API, he can register himself in IRP using his GSTN. He can create a login ID and password, and he can use another company's API login ID and client secret, which means the password of API, client username and client secret. Then next possible method of API integration is taxpayer can use e-waybill. Taxpayer having access to e-waybill API can log in using e-waybill login ID, password and client ID and client secret, which means the user ID and password of the API. Then the next method through ASP and GSP. ASP means application service provider and GSP means GST Suvidha providers. Application service providers help to collect data from persons, and the ASP with the help of GSP can register under e-invoicing portal, can register the data under e-invoicing portal and retrieve the QR code as well as the acknowledgement date and acknowledgement number. First, ASP will collect the data, and with the help of GSP, GST Suvidha providers, those persons will help in GST compliance. Through GST Suvidha providers, the ASPs can register under the invoice registration portal and retrieve the QR code. Then last one is through ERP. Through ERPs, that taxable person, the taxpayer can log in through IRP, invoice registration portal, using his username, password, client ID and client secret. Then he can generate a QR code by registering the invoice in the invoice registration portal. Then we will see if the taxpayer, the small taxpayers who do not have the facility of application process integration API. Those taxpayers can download. First option is download free offline utility, which is a bulk generation tool from e-invoicing portal. And using the offline utility, they can generate JSON file and upload the invoice details to e-invoice portal. Even if the portal gives back the machine readable e-invoice in JSON format, the taxpayer can also generate e-invoice in PDF format also, readable PDF format also. The next option, the taxpayer can download GST e-invoice preparation and printing tool online. It is commonly known as GEPP on. It is a web and mobile based application and it helps in generation of e-invoice for taxpayers having few invoices. For this application, the API integration is not required. It is a simple and user-friendly application, and e-way bill also can be generated using this application. We will see the process of generating e-invoice. First is the supplier to have system or offline utility to prepare or receive JSON, and he uploads invoice JSON to IRP as per form GST INV01. The ERP validates the data and generates IRN and sends the invoice payload data to the GST system. The GST system, if there is a same IRN, if different invoice having same invoice reference number, it eliminates the existence of the same IRN in the GST system. So it rules out the existence of the same IRN in GST system. Thereafter, it saves the invoice data in GST system. After saving the invoice data in GST portal, it auto-populates the invoice data into form GSTR1 as well as GSTR2A. Then the invoice registration portal adds a QR code and signs the invoice using digital signature. A JSON file will be generated and the JSON file will be signed using the digital signature of the IRP. When e-way bill is required to be generated, this data will be pushed to the e-way bill system. The supplier thereafter receives the signed JSON file with IRN and e-way bill were required. He receives signed JSON, which indicates the registration of e-invoice, and supplier receives the generated e-way bill also. Thereafter, the supplier issues the e-invoice to the buyer. The invoice contains QR code printed on the invoice. As far as buyer is concerned, buyer can view the invoice details in his GSTR2A, as well as he can scan the QR code which is printed on the invoice issued to the buyer. He can scan the QR code to verify the authenticity of the e-invoice. Then verification of e-invoice. The taxpayer can either log into the portal invoice1.gst.gov.in, then click search and then click verify signed invoice, or he can download verify QR code mobile app which can be downloaded from e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. Help, tools, verify QR code app. Then we will understand the particulars of e-invoice which is embedded in QR code. In QR code, these following data will get embedded. First one is GSTIN of the supplier. Second one is GSTIN of the recipient. Third one is invoice number as given by the supplier. Fourth one is date of generation of invoice. Fifth one is invoice value, which means taxable value and GST. Sixth one is number of line items, number of items in the invoice. Seventh one, HSN code of the main item, which means line item having highest taxable value. Eighth one is unique invoice reference number. It is a hash function. Then the ninth one is IRN generation date. Then we will see the items required to be printed while issuing the e-invoice. The items to be printed are particulars as per Rule 46 or 53. Rule 46 are the details to be mentioned in the invoice when invoice is generated. Rule 53 is details to be mentioned in debit or credit note when debit or credit note is being issued. So these details are also required to be printed while issuing the e-invoice. E-invoice shall include QR code which contain IRN, invoice reference number. The items which need not be printed. First one is acknowledgement number. Second one is acknowledgement date. Third one is invoice reference number. It is already embedded in the QR code. The fourth one is digital signature given by IRP. We will see amendment or cancellation of e-invoice. If there is any mistake or incorrect entry in e-invoice, it cannot be edited or corrected in e-invoice portal IRP. Amendment to e-invoice shall be allowed only on GST portal, which means the GST filing portal. In GSTR 1, the amendment can be made. An invoice cannot be cancelled partly. An invoice cannot be cancelled partly. It has to be cancelled in total. Third one, important point is that cancellation of invoice and invoice reference number or invoice reported to IRP, it can be cancelled within 24 hours. After cancellation of IRN, GSTR 1 also will be updated with such cancelled status. The third, under the cancellation of invoice, the third important point is that if any connected e-waybill is active, if e-waybill is generated on the basis of e-invoice and it is active or it is being already verified by the proper officer during transit, so the cancellation of IRN will not be permitted. The next important point in regard to cancellation of e-invoice is that after the expiry of cancellation window, which means after 24 hours has been completed from registering under the e-invoice portal, if 24 hours are already completed, any changes to invoice details reported to the invoice registration portal, it can be carried out on GST portal. The cancellation details can be entered, the GSTR 1 can be updated and cancellation can be done, change can be done while filing GSTR 1. In case GSTR 1 is already being filed, then using the mechanism of amendment as provided under GST, which means that if it is already being filed, then the change can be done in the subsequent GSTR 1 for the subsequent period. And we will see the auto population of GSTR 1 or 2A and auto generation of e-way bill. GSTR 1 and 2A. After successful reporting of invoice details to IRP, the invoice data including IRN will be saved in GST system. GST system then will be, after that the GST system will auto-populate them into GSTR 1 of the supplier and 2A of the respective recipients. With the source marked as e-invoice, IRN and IRN date will also be shown in GSTR 1 and GSTR 2A. As far as e-way bill is concerned, in case both Part A and Part B of e-way bill are provided while reporting invoice details to IRP, they will be used to generate e-way bill. When Part A and Part B details of e-way bill, it is already being reported in invoice registration portal, then from the IRP, e-way bill can be directly generated. In case Part B details are not provided at time of reporting the invoice to IRP, the same will have to be provided by the user through the invoice registration portal. Under IRP, e-way bill tab is there. By clicking the e-way bill tab, he can report the Part B details in e-way bill tab and thereafter generate e-way bill. This is the first option. Second option is that he can log in through e-way bill portal. Login through e-way bill portal. After logging into the e-way bill portal, he can generate the e-way bill. After entering the Part B details, he can generate the e-way bill. Recently, two-factor authentication of e-invoice has been introduced in the IRP, invoice registration portal. For e-invoice also, for e-way bill also, two-factor authentication is being introduced. Presently, this feature is optional. Two-factor authentication is that by logging into the e-invoicing system, the taxpayer can log in through using his login ID and password. After using his login ID and password, then he has to authenticate himself through OTP. Only after authenticating through OTP, he can log in. He can successfully log in to the e-invoice portal. For e-way bill portal also, the same requirement is there. The same requirement is to be met. The OTP can be received through the three modes. First one is SMS. Second one is Sanders mobile app. It is one application. It is a messaging app provided by government to send and receive messages. Third one is using NIC GST Shield app. This app is provided by e-way bill or e-invoice system to generate OTP, and this does not require internet, or there is no requirement to depend on mobile network. Recently, National Informatics Center NIC has released e-invoicing system user manual v.1.02 for taxpayers. This user manual helps the taxpayers to use the e-invoice system effectively. The link to download the user manual is https einvoice1.trial.nic.in documents e-invoice user manual web.pdf. If you like the video, please like, comment and share the video. For more updates, please subscribe to our channel. For further notifications, please press the bell icon. Thank you.